Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin." Marin County's A-OK, from Tam to Stinson all the way to MA. Fresh organic veggies in the market every day. The Dennis, Dylan, and NWA.
Welcome to the Run TMC podcast. That is the Run the Marin County podcast, a podcast about basketball in Marin County. And here we are, Dave. We are at episode 4. They said it could not be done.
We never stopped believing, Duff. So many people to thank. I want to thank Iced Coffee. Duffy just picked up his iced coffee. I want to thank the weird stands behind that one hoop at Archie Williams.
They are weird.
Thank you, Stewart, for pointing that out to us. Duff, I'd also like to acknowledge friend of the pod, Heather Sager, who, after we created our Instagram handle for the Run TMC podcast, asked me seriously, is this thing called the Runt McPodcast? And I said, no, it's the Run TMC podcast.
It could be. I'm going to grab up a few more domain names, Dave.
One could see how, without capital letters, Duff, it is the Runt McPodcast, but it's the Run TMC podcast. So, Heather, thank you for that comment.
Right, like I said, we don't even need new domain names. We just need new emphasis.
Just need emphasis.
All right, well, we've had, Dave, some exciting developments with the podcast over the last couple of weeks. We've been doing a lot of interviews, and they have been fun. We're going to be rolling them out over a few weeks to a month or so. We've been traveling around to meet with different basketball people in the county and learning a lot. We will be passing it along to you in a calibrated fashion, but it's been fun.
It's been awesome. Great interviews, great guests. It's been great.
We've been getting some good feedback from listeners through different venues. The people have been emailing us at the runtmcpodcast@gmail.com. Please keep that up. And mostly they are pretty kind emails. They might say, keep going, we love it, basketball's great, Marin County's great, and then the occasional, tell Dave to stop talking.
And clearly, my wife Katie wrote that last one, yes.
And probably Angela's getting on there right now to say the same thing to me.
Totally.
Okay, a few more housekeeping items. Our website, speaking of Angela, she's been working on it. It is the runtmcpodcast.com, and it is out there, and it is not perfect, but it is coming along. You can find our episodes there. You can find some pictures. You'll be able to subscribe to our newsletter and email us. And there will be other functionality and other content that will come along soon. So very excited about having a website.
Looks super cool. Great job, Angela. I also, Duff, I want to make a quick plug for guests. So we've had a few people reach out to us. They've emailed us out of the blue. Some folks we know and some we've not met who just said, hey, love the podcast and I'd love to be a guest. And so we've actually had a few of those people on, or we'll have them on. We've already done some interviews with those folks. So if you're connected to Marin basketball, if you're a current or former player, if you're a coach, and you want to be a part of this podcast, reach out to us. We can't guarantee we'll get you on, but we'd love to hear from you. So send us a message.
And to you, Coach Kerr, we're very sorry, but you need to be concentrating on the job at hand. We want to bring the championship trophy back to the Marin County and the Bay Area more broadly. So please, we'll have to wait until after the season for you.
Agreed. Sorry, Steve. Duff, I think let's do our disclaimer. You are Chief Disclaimer Officer of our podcast, so I think this is the time for the disclaimer.
So, yeah, blah, blah, blah. We have jobs. We have other roles. We coach. And on this podcast, this is just two guys over some iced coffee and a laptop and imperfect recording material talking basketball. So,
speaking of sponsorship opportunities, Duff, how have we not had an iced coffee sponsor yet?
That's a very good point.
Okay.
Yeah. I don't have an answer for that question.
Okay, thank you.
But we do have some sponsors. More to that. More on that in a moment, Dave.
Yes.
But yeah, we're chipping away, and we're very excited. We have 2 official sponsors.
Yeah, it's awesome. All right.
What do we do next, Dave? I think all right. We have.
You can talk about CYO.
We're going to talk about CYO. Yeah, it is CYO assessment / evaluation / tryout. Although tryout is really a word we don't use, or is tryout 2 words with a hyphen in between. No matter what, Dave, it is a busy time of year for those coaches and players and parents involved with CYO basketball here in Marin County. It's exciting. It's chaotic. For some, it's fun. For others, it's stressful. But no matter what, it's a big deal. Filling up the gyms. And Dave, I know you had an assessment just the other day.
I did my first one. And for those of you not in Marin, CYO is just the Marin Youth Basketball Organization. But I'm sure wherever you are, there's youth basketball, right? So that's when we say CYO. That's what we mean. So I did an assessment for St. Sebastian, which is my local CYO parish, and it was awesome. It was great. It was so fun to be in the gym. The kids played really hard. Duff, actually, I had 2 or 3 kids come up, give me a fist bump, and say, "Hey, we listened to your podcast."
That's so cool.
And not coincidentally, a few of those kids found their way to dive on the floor for some loose balls during the assessments. So, but it was
they have an advantage. Yeah,
maybe. So it was great. So why don't you talk about your perspective on this?
Yeah, so I've done this for a couple of years. Also with St. Sebastian, I have my first assessment that I'm helping out with tomorrow, Dave, and I think some 8th graders. So that'll be fun. We have talked already on this podcast about sort of as a player, how to approach the assessments. We've also asked around and talked to friends of the pod, including Chad Stewart, getting some opinions on what are best practices if you're running or participating in an assessment. And then we'll just cover again for the players out there, if you're finding this podcast for the first time, some best practices for ways to not necessarily shine, but just put your best foot forward in the assessments. So organizing these, it's chaotic, as I mentioned earlier. You have a lot of kids coming in. You have to assess them in a brief period of time. Often you only have one gym. It's going to be loud. And a lot of the people doing the assessments won't know the kids in advance, because you don't want the favoritism of having a coach or a parent do it who is going to, it may have some intrinsic bias. So you got to organize the gym. You got to organize the outside of the gym. Dave, maybe just give us a brief overview of how that looks at St. Sebastian, at least.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's been great. Tom Poser and Pam Nelson, who run it for us, have done an amazing job. So we have people out front of the gym who check in the kids, give them each a jersey with a number on it, and then also create a checklist for the evaluators with each kid's name and the jersey number next to it, and then have clipboards. So it just makes it a much more streamlined process. So the evaluators who are, in St. Sebastian's case, we actually have independent third-party people, so coaches, other basketball people who don't necessarily know these kids, just come in with a fresh set of eyes and watch them play for an hour. But having all the administrative work done up front leaves you more time to actually watch the kids play basketball, which is why we're there in the first place, right?
Right. And a couple other things. You have to have one person who's really controlling the gym, and they're not doing any evaluation. They're just running the kids through the drills. They're maybe finding a way to pit bubble kids against each other. If they're head coaches of teams, they're conferring with the coaches to see, what else they might want to see from those kids they have in the gym. And ideally, they're not doing too much talking or coaching, because it's a brief period of time. Now, there may be an opportunity to just do some teaching, or really to do some life coaching for the kids. And of course, you take that opportunity if it comes up, and you can avail yourself of that. And the evaluators and coaches should really keep a low profile and just be watching. And I think really a best practice would be to have them not intervene. They have a clipboard, they've got their sheet. It's a lot to be able to rank or rate 30 players within an hour period of time. So really would be full concentration for someone doing the evaluation, at least for me. I've got sort of limited ability to multitask when it comes to something like that.
Yep.
And then we mentioned earlier, just kind of finding a way, if kids are on the bubble between A and B, find a way to pit them against each other in some competition, 3v3, just find a way to see if they can stand out a little bit against each other, but also realize it's going to be imperfect. We know basketball is a game where Some days you'll shoot 80%, other days you'll shoot 20%, and if it just so happens that on assessment day it's one of the 20% days, it might hurt you, and that is just the way it is. Fortunately, being on A team or B team it doesn't put you on a particular track for the rest of your basketball career. Basketball is a life sport, right, Dave? And so there are plenty of B team players out there, or C team players that end up being great basketball players in high school or for the rest of their lives. And so you don't put too much stake in this one assessment. I guess I would say that as a parent and as a coach.
Yeah, the end game is not making the 7th grade A team. The end game is learning the sport, learning how to be a good teammate, learning how to compete so that you can play in high school if you want to play in college, or like me and Duff, you want to play when you're in your late 40s, early 50s. That's the end game. It's not just making the A team for the 6th or 7th grade.
Yeah, totally agree there. And for parents, just realize the people that are doing the assessment, they're volunteers. It's very difficult. There are going to be a lot of kids that are very similar in terms of their skill and athleticism. And at some point, it's going to be a little bit of a roll of the dice. And please just be understanding of that. And if there are reasonable requests, friends playing with friends, or a kid would prefer to play B, let the organizers know that. There are plenty of kids that just want to have fun and play at the B level, and that's totally fine. And for many kids, that can be a much better experience than necessarily the stress. For some, the stress of playing on an A team.
Duff, tips for players to help them stand out?
Oh, right. Yeah. So no false hustle. Don't do the false hustle, but play hard, be polite, look people in the eye, show good body language. That's a theme. I would say that's the number one thing I notice as an evaluator. If
Absolutely.
a kid has poor body language after a play and they don't hustle back on defense, that to me stands out more than someone who dives on the floor.
Duff, I would say that body language won't get you on the A team or the varsity, but it will certainly keep you off it.
Yes.
So it can definitely hurt you. So I could not agree more with that one.
Do we have time for a quick body language story? I'm going to go off script here, Dave, but I've been thinking about this story. It's a pretty good story.
I would love it.
Okay.
Duff.
My first game coaching CYO, it's 4th grade CYO, 4th grade B. I have a team of 3rd graders. We've decided to play up, and we're playing against I think St. Patrick, and they are running like a motion offense, 4th grade B team. I have one play, and it's a clear out to our best player, and they figured that out within about 2 minutes. So we are down 24-2, I believe, early in the 3rd quarter, and one of my players, and I won't name his name, but he is a delightful player, and still coach him to this day. And he's playing defense, and he takes a blocking foul. And it's like, he was moving his feet, but he got there a little late. Mm-hmm. It was a blocking foul. And he looks over me, and he's at the far side of the court, and he just has tears streaming down his face. He just looks so incredibly upset. So I sub him out right away, and I say, what's going on? I mean, I know that was a tough call, but I think it was a foul, and it's not a big deal. You were trying to get there. And he said, I really, really, really have to go to the bathroom right now. So that's another thing. Give them a chance to take a bathroom break during CYO assessments.
Well said, Duff.
So, all right. So we move on.
I think
glossary
so.
time. Glossary time.
It's glossary time. And by the way, Duff, I apologize. You guys will hear in the body of this interview, I hit a couple glossary terms. I went off book. Went to some.
True.
Duffy was upset with me, but it's okay. Okay, so we've been focused a lot on offense so far, Duff, in our glossary segment. So I thought we'd switch it up, and we actually both have selected a defensive term. Mine is tag.
That is one of my favorite games, although I'm not sure I've ever played it, and it's a terrible movie, although I've not seen the movie. But thank you for that line, Dave.
John Hamm, Ed Helms.
Oh, I like John Hamm.
Jeremy Renner. I mean, the cast of the movie is good. The movie itself is not good. But so anyway, tag is usually used in the context of tagging a roller, and I'll explain that. So think of a high screen and roll, very frequent action used in the NBA and WNBA in particular. But so pretend like we're at the top of the key, just beyond the 3-point line. There's a ball handler moving maybe from left to right and a big player setting a screen. depending on how the defense plays it, typically defenses will switch a screen and roll. Not always. If they do switch the screen and roll, the person setting the screen then rolls to the basket, right, Duff? That's the correct fundamental move.
Or they pop.
Or they pop, right? But let's say they roll to the basket, and on a switch, that roller is going to be open. So what the defense needs to do is a player guarding on the weak side. Let's think there's a player in the corner, an offensive player in the corner, and that defender is in the weak side. That weak side defender needs to come over and help kind of slow and impede the progress of the roller to the basket. That is called tagging the roller. It's not a full switch. It's just kind of helping for a brief moment until your teammate can recover back to get on that player, and that's called tagging. So if you watch NBA games and you'll hear coaches refer to, we got to tag the roller, or it's a quick tag. Tyler Gaffney, who is the San Domenico boys head coach and is a former college coach, often uses this terminology as well. Very sophisticated term and used in college games. So tagging a roller, it's just like a quick way to provide help side defense without a full switch. Does that make sense?
That does make sense. And it is one of those terms that, and actually concepts that I was never taught when I was playing in high school or even in college. I think we have a lot more terms than, now than we did back then.
Hence, Duff, the glossary segment of this podcast.
Yeah.
But you'll hear, so when Duff and I were growing up, and this phrase is still used, you'll hear help and recover, right? That's typically used in the context of a ball handler is driving to the basket. He or she gets by his or her defender, and a help side defender comes and helps for a second until the original defender can get back on their player. This is a similar concept, but it's for a player that doesn't have the ball necessarily, right? So as the roller is going to the basket, someone comes over, tags them for a second, and then gets back on their player. So anyway, tagging the roller.
Love it. All right, you ready for mine?
Ready.
Pack line.
Good one.
So this is a half-court defensive scheme, and it was first created by Dick Bennett, who is a legendary coach, and his son Tony Bennett is currently at Virginia. But Dick Bennett coached a number of different college programs, including probably most famously University of Wisconsin. He was also at Washington State. And so the pack line is really a conceptual defense that will try and it's better against a team that is not shooting the ball from outside, and it's packing the defense in, essentially trying to take away drives within, into any of the gaps, and creating an imaginary line where your defense does not extend outside of that. So if that line could be at 16 feet. If you're at the third grade level, it could be at 12 feet. 13, 14, 15. In NBA, it might be out at 22 feet or so. I think the pack line, not a great defense for NBA because the shooters are so extraordinary. They can, someone like Steph Curry or Dame Lillard can shoot from just about anywhere. So it's a man-to-man defense, but it has a zone principle where all defenders stay within an imaginary pack line that allows for a quick help and recover.
Basically saying, offense, you're going to have to beat us from the outside if you're going to beat us, right?
Right, and I think it's sort of luring the offense in, and then it's a quick attempt at a recover with a quick hand. So the idea is if you're not hitting the outside shots, or if someone wants to penetrate a little bit and kick back out, that you're trying to use that as an opportunity to have active hands and get a turnover and go the other way.
Excellent. It's a good one.
So yeah, you watch it, you'll see certain teams where they're really not allowing sort of any drives into the lane, and that type of team is, more likely than not playing the pack line approach. Yeah,
watch the Virginia men, as you said. Tony Bennett, Dick Bennett's son, is the coach there. They've kind of perfected this over the years.
Right. Dave, this is exciting. We actually have some content that we are going to read from our
sponsors.
Amazing. All right, we're going to start. We already gave some love to the Hub, and they are an informal sponsor regardless. But now they're a formal sponsor, so thank you to Jerry and Rebecca. And I'm going to read their copy here, and I'm going to try and do it dramatically. And then, Dave, do you want to cover our next sponsor? I don't want to do all the sponsor talk.
I would love to, but I'm just excited to hear you read something dramatically about the Hub.
Please stop by to see locals Jerry and Rebecca at the Hub in San Anselmo, where you can enjoy grass-fed burgers, killer salads, 8 craft beers, and cider on tap, and the best milkshakes in Marin County. Watch a game on the big screens indoor or on the covered patio. There is plenty of parking and Tesla charging stations at Red Hill Shopping Center in San Anselmo. Oreo shake, Dave.
Love the Hub.
Good field work too.
Great people, great beer, great burgers, good chicken sandwiches, good salads. Just an awesome place. So hugely supportive of them and honored to have them as a sponsor. So thank you, Jerry and Rebecca. Okay, mine. I am happy to announce that Nike Camps at San Domenico are a sponsor for our podcast, Duff. They are in their 24th year in 2024. The camp was sold out last year in 2023. So this is a summer camp, summer basketball camp. There were multiple weeks run by our friend Mike Fulton, as well as Jeff Skaggs, who is the Associate Athletic Director at San Domenico and a future guest on this podcast. Actually, we interviewed Jeff. We're going to release his episode in a couple of weeks. He's fantastic. But Jeff was very early to this. He wanted to be one of our first sponsors so that he could say he knew us before we became, internationally famous, Duff. I was actually blown away when I saw the list of speakers who spoke at the camp over the summer. My younger daughter, Addie, went to the camp and she loved it. But I'll just name a few names. So Brooke Smith, WNBA star, played at Stanford and Duke, Marin Catholic grad, McDonald's All-American. She spoke there. Kenny Woodard, who runs 24/8, as we mentioned, phenomenal player for Terra Linda and played pro ball in Puerto Rico. We've talked about Buck and Eddie Joe Chavez. We got our Buck reference already in, Duff. So Bucky and Eddie Joe spoke. Bill Duffy, an NBA agent. Dave Bullwinkle, an NBA scout for the Bulls. Doug Hendrickson, local guy, great guy, who's an agent as well. Both Dominican coaches, Justin Argino on the men's side and our actually guest for this podcast, Tim Lakose, on the women's side. So long list of great speakers, phenomenal camp, and just really great.
And bonus time for what was supposed to be a 15-second ad.
There we go.
Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome, Coach Skaggs.
I never go over time, Duff. So anyway, thank you to our sponsors. We actually have had a couple more conversations with sponsors who are very interested, and so we really appreciate that this podcast is resonating with people. And thank you to our listeners and to our sponsors.
All right, let's move on to Joey, California. A little bit of news, and then we're going to do a brief intro of our guest and then into the interview.
Beautiful. So some of you may have seen this news recently. Joey Calcaterra, our Marin's own MC grad, NCAA champion with UConn. It just was announced a couple days ago that he has signed with the G League, the NBA's G League, with the South Bay Lakers. So the Lakers organization. That is massive. We've talked about how rare it is to have players who played pro basketball, and that's no small thing. To play in the NBA is obviously the holy grail, but the G League is the next best thing. That is rarefied air, and so super proud of and excited for Joey. There are some G League games that are on TV, so hopefully we'll get to see him play. But just congratulations to Joey. That's a huge accomplishment.
Yeah, very excited for him. I think we should also mention Charlie Dewson played at Marin Catholic with Joey. Another really good basketball player. He's still playing around here in leagues and out on Sundays at Hidden Valley. And good kid, really good player. Would have loved to see those two kids play together for another couple of years.
So I was talking to Rick Winter, who, former Marin Catholic coach, great guy, and now the head of NBBA. And he was talking about when he was the Marin Catholic coach years ago, Joey Calcaterra and his brothers and dad would sit right behind the bench. And like when Joey was, 4 or 5 years old, he was at MC games listening into the huddle and watching them play. And
cool.
And here he is now playing pro basketball. It's pretty cool.
Very cool. All right. Shall we get to the intro for our guest?
Yeah. So our guest today is Tim Lakose. He's the head women's basketball coach at Dominican University of California in San Rafael. Dominican's a very good Division II college program, and Tim is entering his 10th year at the helm. We actually go through his background in detail in the body of the interview, so I won't say anything more now. I'll just say that He's had a long and successful career as a coach at the women's college level. He is a super thoughtful, caring, warm guy. He clearly loves basketball. He loves his community, and he was very generous with his time. And I thought this was a really fun conversation.
Yeah, it covered a lot of material about recruiting as a recurring theme here. Tim also wanted us to mention, and we'll put a plug in for a tip-off barbecue luncheon that Dominican is hosting on October 21st, 10 a.m. to noon at the Conlin Center, the lovely Dominican campus in San Rafael. I am wearing right now, Dave, my Run DUC shirt that Tim gave us each a t-shirt. Some synergy there with our t-shirts, but Totally. It is the Run Dominican University of California. So, all right, let's get to the interview. What do you say, Dave?
Let's do it.
All right.
Very excited to have Tim Lakose with us. Tim, thank you for the time. It's already been fun. So Tim is the head coach of the Dominican University women's team here in San Rafael. Tim, I'll do a little background here for our listeners to let them know how impressive you are, because it's a great background. So 30 years of coaching at the women's college level, right?
That's right.
Began coaching at Cal Lutheran in Southern California, and listeners, if that school sounds familiar, that's where Mike Fulton, our first guest, played hoops. Was Division III at that time, right, Tim?
Correct. Yeah.
He led them to multiple conference titles and national tournament appearances, and left there in 2000 as the winningest coach in Cal Lu history. And then went to Cal State Bakersfield, which was, I believe, it was the program's early in the program's life, right? Like the second, third year, something like that.
Second year, correct.
Second year. Had a great run at Cal State Bakersfield, multiple Division II tournament appearances, and then Tim took them from Division II up to Division I, right?
That's right.
So if you're scoring at home, he's coached at the Division III, Division II, and Division I level in the first 10 years that he was a coach. He then went to San Jose State in 2010, and he turned that program around. He was 2012 WAC Coach of the Year. And then he left San Jose State in 2014 and came to lovely Marin County and joined Dominican University. And here we are starting his 10th season at Dominican. You guys can't see Tim. He's a big guy. We're going to talk about his post game. He was a hell of a player himself. I've seen Tim's teams play before I even met him, and I love watching the Dominican women play. They play with great energy and connectivity, and you can tell that he fosters a really strong family-like culture in his team. So I want to talk about that with him too. So Tim, really, really excited to have you here. Thank you.
Oh, it's my pleasure. Thanks for having me.
Yeah. So let's talk about different levels within the college game, right? Because you have this kind of unique experience where you started at the D3 level, went to D2, D1. You're now spending a lot of time at the D2 level. When you're looking at players and talent at these levels, what separates players from being a Division II player and a Division I player? I mean, is it you're playing Division II basketball? You're really talented, right? So what's the difference between a D2 and a D1 player in your view?
Yeah, great question. What we really look for is players that love to compete. So I think at every level, if you're going to play college basketball, you got to have that passion, that fire.
Right.
The biggest differences between 3, 2, and 1 are typically size, speed, ability. Each level you go up, you're going to typically face a bigger, faster, stronger player. Not necessarily all the time, but many times that's the case.
Yeah. So when you have players who succeed at, like, for example, we're going to get to this, but you got a couple transfers that came in, like one, Haley Hoff, right? She goes to Pepperdine. She does well there. She's now transferred here to play with you guys. So she's gone from D1 down to D2. Do you expect her to, is that going to be a big shift for her in terms of competition level, or is it going to be, do you think she's going to dominate here, or do you think, talk about that, go leveling down from D1 to D2 or D2 to D1, how big a difference is the game?
Yeah, I think there'll be a little bit of adjustment. She's played with that high level, so the speed, we like to play up tempo.
Yeah.
She's used to that. She can really shoot the ball, so I think at any level, especially myself, I have a soft spot for people that can put the ball in the basket.
Right.
And she can certainly do that. But it's going to be very competitive. I coached Division III teams that have beaten Division I teams.
Sure.
Division II teams that have, beat Pac-12 teams. So I think no matter where you go, if you have that competitive fire, there's probably a place for you.
Yeah.
Haley definitely has that. It was just a better fit, and I think that leads us to the next part of it, finding the right fit. You could be Division I talent, but that might not be for you.
Right.
It's like a full-time job. Division III, you got to really love it because you're not going to be getting paid to play there.
Right.
There's not a scholarship for basketball. All Division III players are there on academic and need-based scholarships only.
Okay.
There's no athletic scholarships at Division III.
Yeah.
So that's important to know. So the players that we had at Division III were there because they loved it. They weren't there for a scholarship. Sometimes people will choose Division I because it's a full scholarship.
Right.
And that's not necessarily always the best decision.
Well, it's interesting you say that, because you've listened to our episode that we did with our friend KK, right? And you know KK, and it was interesting to hear where she had some opportunities to play D1, mm-hmm. right? I mean, she was arguably a D1 player, mm-hmm. but the schools that she could have played at, they weren't giving her a scholarship, and it wasn't really a money thing, she said, but it was kind of a, do you want me or not?
Right.
And she wanted to go somewhere where the school really wanted her, right? Where she would fit in, where the coach got it, and where she was going to be utilized, right? And so I thought that was interesting too. Like, yeah, she could have gone to UOP or really good schools, D1 schools, but maybe the coach didn't view her as a kind of an integral part of their plan, whereas she went and played D2 and was more of a factor, right? So.
Yeah, and I think that goes to fit on both sides. You want to go somewhere where you're really wanted. We want players that really want to be here.
Right.
If we have to chase you, because you're looking for a bigger, better offer, and in your mind, bigger and better, this is probably not the place for you. If you really want to be here, grade school, academics, basketball program, location, then that plays a key role in the decision-making process.
It's a great point. It's even more relevant in today's game versus a couple of years ago, right? With NIL at the D1 level, the transfer portal, the fluidity of where players are moving from school to school,
right.
particularly at the higher levels, right? Chasing the NIL dollars. I mean, and listeners, NIL, name, image, likeness, basically college players can get paid now.
That's right.
For advertisements, and it can be real money for the higher level players. They can make millions of dollars. So college is now, that's a big investment that you're making in kids just in terms of recruiting them and getting them into your program. If they play for you for a year and leave, that's tough as a coach, right? So
yeah, and it's a special time in your life. You're only going to get this opportunity once, and so you want to go somewhere where you're really going to flourish as a person, as a player.
Yeah,
and you're going to enjoy your experience. So you look back on it, and you want to feel good about those days. And
yeah,
I think that's really important going into the process. You see a lot of transfers today because I think they sign for maybe not the best reasons. You want an academic fit. I think it's important to go visit. Maybe not always when it's official, do an unofficial visit so you really see what the day-to-day life is like. And spend time with the players. When we're recruiting players, we want them to spend as much time as they can with our players because they know better than anybody what it's like to be here. And we want our players to be honest with it.
Sure.
This is what Dominican's all about. This is what coach is about. I think that, and you'll know, a lot of times you ask our players, they knew on their visit, this felt like home. This is where they wanted to be.
Right.
If you got some yellow or red flags, you need to listen to that and dig deeper, and then, like you or I or our sons or daughters, my daughters, you make a list, you weigh the pros and cons, and you try to make an informed decision. Some of it can come down to just what's your heart telling you.
Sure, mm-hmm. Sure. So I'd love to talk about your perspective on the game today versus when you started coaching 30 years ago, when you were playing more than 30 years ago, let's just say. So we've talked a lot on this podcast, the last couple episodes, about the modern game, right? 5 out, a lot of motion,
right?
A lot of threes.
Yeah.
When you were playing, it was more they were run and gun teams, right? But in general, the post players were probably more of a prominent part of the offense. Right. Is that fair to say?
Yes. Oh, absolutely.
So talk about that. I mean, what do you like? Do you like today's game? Do you like the game the way it was before? What are your thoughts on that?
Yes. I just love the game. And again, You'll hear me say, what's most important, the ball, where do we put it, the basket? And there's a lot of different ways to do that.
Sure.
As a player, I spent hours in the driveway putting the ball in the basket, and how many different ways you can do that. And then growing up in Southern California during Showtime and Magic, Worthy, Kareem, I modeled my game after that. And you see, you can score at all three levels. I didn't know what all three levels were. You just put the ball in the basket wherever you are.
Right.
And I really enjoyed that style of play, and that's how I coached initially. We used the 3 out, 2 in because that was our personnel. And Tara Vanderveer's videos, I studied those, I studied the game. Obviously, they had a lot of success with it. So let's try that. I think it's important to try to match your players with, what go to their strengths. And that was our strengths. And we led the country in scoring. We averaged 93 points a game.
Amazing.
And I learned quickly that defense is your best offense. The men's coach at Cal Lutheran at that time was Mike Dunlap.
Yeah, great coach.
One of the best I've ever seen, and he took me under his wing. I was 23 years old, head college coach, because I was also an athletic trainer. So, that wouldn't happen today. But at that time, they needed an assistant athletic trainer and a head women's basketball coach. And then luckily for me, Mike Dunlap was the men's coach, and I just studied. I was sitting at all their practices. And it came together. The team was 1-24 before we got there.
Wow.
A year later, because I'm asking all the coaches, what do you got to do to be successful here at college level? Recruit, recruit, recruit. And then I get to watch Dunlap and his X's and O's and his defense and the intensity. And then Tara's, very good high-low offense, install that. So I take a little bit from everybody, make it your own. I couldn't be Coach Dunlap. I couldn't be Coach Vanderveer.
Sure.
But I try to take what they do well and make it my own and fit our players. And that worked really well for us. And then I went from Cal Lutheran to Bakersfield, and we didn't have, we're playing, especially when we went Division I, we were much smaller. And there was a guy named Vance Wahlberg who graduated from Cal State Bakersfield and was coaching, close to Clovis West with that dribble drive. Mm-hmm. And then Fresno City. And I was, our person, we had a lot of guards there that, were Division I talent, but were overlooked and had chips on their shoulder, and those kind of kids we really liked. So we ran the dribble drive, and we just threw, some on ball to get a mismatch that we wanted, and we were beating Pac-12 teams at the Division II budget.
Awesome.
Yeah, and I think that was just a sign of the times. Everybody in the Central Valley was running a dribble drive.
Right.
Because of Wahlberg. So I was, very fortunate to have mentors like Dunlap, Wahlberg, Tara, and then, I tried to incorporate all those things. And I think, then the three-point line and up-tempo, and then coming up here to the Bay Area and seeing the Warriors perfect that.
Sure.
Man, what great basketball. And I just feel blessed that I grew up in SoCal with the Lakers, and then, Stanford women's team.
Yeah.
And then, Wahlberg, high school, junior college, one of the best. And then to see the Warriors and just try to take, what they were doing well. But I think, the game has evolved and changed in a lot of ways, but you still got to put the ball in the basket.
Right.
And you got to stop the other team from putting the ball in the basket. Exactly. And there's a lot of different ways to do that. I don't know if you watched the WNBA finals last night, but man, the aces, wow, inside out. And I think you got to have that. You got to be able to play inside out, both offensively and defensively, if you want to be a championship team.
Well, look at the Nuggets, right? I mean, Jokic is a special player, but Jokic, there's a lot of inside out, get a paint touch, get it back, and fans, listeners, will do in our glossary, we'll do a paint touch. It basically means the ball gets in the paint, in the key. Doesn't necessarily have to be shot when it gets in the key, but that's a sign of a good possession, right? And I totally agree with you. I think the aces are Nuggets.
You've done the glossary, Dave.
There we go.
Yeah.
Hey,
Tim. One more off the list.
Tim, I'm like my dog when I'm putting the bowl down and she can't wait to get to the food. When you threw these names out there, I got to say something about them. So Mike Dunlap, we're going to do a whole episode on Lavenkamp lore because it deserves it.
Yes, absolutely.
And with Dave Deneen, who I think will probably release the Deneen interview before yours. We're trying to figure out when we do these episodes. But Dave Deneen, we did a deep dive on the Lavin camps. But they were summer camps run by Steve Lavin, just a huge mentor and figure in my life and all of our lives. But Mike Dunlap, that's an example of a guy who just, at Lavin camp, I'm a player, I'm a kid, and this guy's coaching at this camp. And he is a elite college coach. And you're talking about he's at Cal Lu. And when that guy spoke, I still remember his monotone voice. He's not a very tall guy, but he felt like he was 8 feet tall to me because the things he was saying were so meaningful. Yeah. He went on to coach for the Nuggets, right? Metro State.
That's right. He was with the Bucks when they would just won the championship.
With the Bucks. Mike Budenholzer, who was coached the Bucks to an NBA championship. He was a Lavin camp coach. I mean, the coaches that we had at that camp were incredible. Yes. But yeah, Dunlap was an amazing guy to learn from. So that's really cool that you were able to.
Yeah, I'd love to dig in a little bit deeper there because that was my Marin connection. So Mike was a mentor. One of the things, I said, where do you, because I haven't really seen this language that you use, there's more than X's and O's.
Right.
He was a father, and his family was fantastic, and I really admired that. And he suggested I take a parenting class. Yeah, I'm 23 years old.
Interesting.
No kids.
Yeah.
Parenting class. And this lady's name was Diana Gilman. And unbelievable. Just, because there's such an overlap between parenting, with parenting and coaching. High expectations, logical consequences. And that affected me more than the X's and O's. And he was one of the best at that. And then he saw that, how do I get better? How do I get better? I want to get better. And he's like, you need to go work the Snow Valley camps, Westmont College.
Unbelievable.
And the Lavin basketball camps. So 4 weeks of Snow Valley with Westmont College.
Yep.
You got Majerus, the Van Gundys, the best of the best coaches. 2 weeks of boys, 2 weeks of girls, and then I came up here and did 2 weeks of Lavin. These are overnight camps.
Yeah.
And they are back-to-back, 6 weeks.
I was there. We were probably there at the same time.
Yeah, and that was my first time meeting Lav and the family and Coach Moore.
Coach Moore. I was going to ask you, when you talk about the Central Valley, he was at Fresno Pacific, right?
Yeah, and then Westmont. And
then Westmont.
Yeah, and now he's with Lav at USD.
University of San Diego, yeah.
So there is so much history there. But that could be several books. But that was my introduction. And the Ravellis, so at the end of the camp, we went up to Ravelli's up the road here.
Yeah.
And Jim still comes down, Mike, I know Michelle. They were fantastic. At the end of the camp, we'd go up there and celebrate the week.
That we survived. Get some meat. So the camps were at Pacific Union College in Angwin, which is a Seventh-day Adventist town. It's vegetarian.
Right.
So the tradition was at the end of camp, we'd all go into St. Helena and go to A&W and get a hamburger.
Yeah.
Michelle Bravelli, by the way, one of our next guests. We're interviewing her next week, maybe, or the week after. Old friends of ours.
Yeah.
Her brother Mike, both Michelle and Mike, great players at Santa Fe, and their dad Jim was a USF coached for the Wizards in the NBA. Just great people and amazing basketball ambassadors.
Yeah, and that was my exposure to Marin County basketball and the people here, and that served me well in my career. Those connections, and now to come full circle.
Yeah.
I see the Bravellis at CYO camps, and just at Coach Fulton's engagement party, had the chance to coach KK with my daughters and MBBA and the CYO circuit. The whole thing, Marin's been a blessing for me and my family, and definitely the coaching profession.
Awesome. Mm-hmm. So let's get back to, for some of the players out there. So when you're evaluating talent, what do you look for in players? What catches your eye?
Yeah, well, that competitiveness, that wow factor, that kid loves to compete. And if you watch our team, we're not the biggest, but man, we play hard. And it's fun to coach. It's fun to play with. Those are the kind of players you love to play with, kind of players you love to coach. So we look for competitors.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They're the outward competitors. You can really tell, and then they're the quiet competitors.
Yeah.
Are you able to pick up on both types of competitors?
Absolutely, that's a great point. Yeah, it doesn't have to be loud. And one of the best was sitting in your chair. That's the assistant's chair. Fanique Allen. Fanique Allen played for me at Cal State Bakersfield. She's now the assistant coach at UC San Diego. A warrior, quiet warrior though, but just a great person. So we were going from Division II to Division I, and she went up to a school in Washington, Division I, long way from home, which is San Diego. and wanted to get back closer to home. So a better fit for her at Bakersfield. She knew the style of play that I love. The first thing we look at is your transcript. That's important. Those listening, if you don't have the grades, we can't recruit you.
Kids study, get good grades.
Yeah.
Okay.
So there's still a place. Community college is a great
Sure.
route, but Division II, in Division I, you have got to meet the NCAA requirements, and that's part of being competitive. We're looking for top students, top players from top programs that love to compete.
Yeah.
And there's usually a correlation there. And Fanique's a great example. So when I was at Bakersfield, we were fortunate to get her, and she was a warrior, point guard, a leader. As a coach, I was smart enough to give her the ball and let her go. And she was either going to score or she was going to get you a great shot. And if she needed an on-ball to create a mismatch, it happened. So it made my life a lot easier as a coach, having players like that. And then other players wanted to play with her and gravitated towards. She made players better. And that success bred success. And man. And then when I came here 10 years ago, I asked her to join me in helping build a winning program here at Dominican. And who better than a player that
Sure.
Played for me, went through it, played pro, and so those are the kind of people that, not only players, but people that we're looking for.
So in our interview with Tom Poser and John Granucci, two great friends of ours, Tom said some great things about, I asked him the same question about how do you evaluate players, and he was in the context of kind of CYO, right, younger kids.
Yeah.
But he just said, be that kid that dives on the floor
Yeah.
and gets that loose ball, right?
Yeah.
And that's more of the outward competitor, right? But coaches look at that stuff.
Yeah, some do it with a big old smile on their face and rah-rah, and others just come up stoic.
Yep.
But they're both fierce competitors.
Yeah.
That's what we love.
And those loose balls, we got to get those loose balls. So talk about your recruiting process. So when you're looking at players, how does it start? Do you want to go see them play there in a high school game? Do you go to AAU? Like where do you start your process with players?
It's a combination of high school, AAU, but now doing it for 30 years, I rely heavily on connections.
Sure.
Again, we're looking for top students, top players from top programs. And I've been coaching in California for 30 years, so I know a lot of high school, JC, club, 4-year coaches. And a good example of that would be Jenna Dooley, our point guard. She played for one of my former players, Brandy Murray. She played for me at Cal Lutheran. And then went to Sierra College, head coach there. They won a state title. Their team captain was Jenna. Hey, Brandy, got any players that we should look at? Well, yeah. This kid's a 4.0, coach's dream.
Great.
And so we invited her here, and it was a great fit for her academically, basketball-wise, and so that the relationships are really, really important.
Sure.
And if I were, giving advice to my son or daughter, one, do your homework. Grades first and foremost.
Right.
2, become the best player you can. Individual work, your high school coach, club coach, try to find the best, and then play with the best that you can. When I was playing, my coaches, we played 3-on-3 every weekend. Against the coaches, against the dads, against the alum, and that helped more than anything.
Playing pickup, as we've talked about.
Yeah, and I love 3-on-3 because you get a lot of touches, and a lot of the game is 1-on-1, 2-on-2, 3-on-3.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and the better you are at that, the better you're going to be at 5-on-5 and
Sure.
getting up and down the court.
Yeah.
So I highly recommend that. We do that a lot with CYO and MBBA. We played a lot of small side games, and
Yep.
I think that really helps with the player development. And then, as you contact the coach and say, hey, I'm interested in your program. Your high school or club coach can help you with that, put together a tape that exemplifies you and your game, and not just highlights, but a game tape, and preferably against a good team. And not just, you hung 40 on the weakest team in the area, but you played solid maybe in the state tournament, and that's something that we would want to see.
So we want to ask you about this. What do the kids call it? The hype tape, or whatever, sizzle
That
reel.
might have been the terminology before the current terminology, but we'll call it the hype tape.
Well, now it's just an Instagram reel probably. But what do you recommend? Because I was talking to another coach. He said, all right, I had this kid gave me a reel, and it was him making 15 corner threes. I'm like, after the third one, I'm like, okay, Got it.
Right.
You're good from the corner.
Yeah.
Show me other stuff. So like what kind of stuff would you want to see? I like that you're saying that you want to see in game against good competition, but you want to see like a variety of different situations.
So this would be the ideal profile.
Yeah.
You send us a transcript. You send us your stats. You send us some clips of you doing what you do best.
Yeah.
And then you show us some game film, preferably against a strong opponent.
Okay.
That's what we love to see. The rest is kind of fluff.
Right.
Yeah.
And you'll look at that stuff, right? I mean, you'll watch if kids if they got the grades.
Oh yeah.
They got the you'll
Yeah, we're video junkies. We love to watch that stuff.
Yeah.
We love to watch good basketball.
Right.
But yeah, if it becomes we've seen bank shots from three on the videotapes. Probably the
Right, well, I was thinking about that, right? So
Yeah.
you're not, I imagine you're not necessarily looking, you assume if it's on the tape the ball goes in, you're not looking so much if it goes in.
Right.
Because you've already had a selection bias.
Right.
You're looking probably more at the feet,
Yeah.
the lift, the release, all the the mechanics of the shot.
Yes.
And you can probably tell if someone's actually a great shooter or not.
Absolutely. That's going back to Haley Hoff. One of the best pure shooters I've seen, catch and shoot. And that's an area that we wanted to improve our team. And so when we had the chance to recruit her, I mean, you could tell instantly just watching her shoot the ball.
And Haley wasn't she Bay City? She played for a really high level AAU team, right? I think I think it was Bay City in San Francisco, but because I'd heard about her before. But hey, there's one more glossary term I wanted to throw out there. You mentioned small-sided games, and that's a great one.
Yes.
That coaches will know, but for parents, players, small-sided games are just in practice. Coaches like to set up situations where maybe
we
it's.
do this in the intro, not during the interview.
But in the context of the, come on here. I don't want them
Go
to be
ahead,
scratching
go
their
ahead.
head stuff. This is a player control foul on my part. Small-sided games are just 3-on-3, 4-on-4, 2-on-2. Sometimes maybe where the offense has an advantage. Just different situations that aren't just a pure 5-on-5, right?
Yes.
And they're very good teaching tools.
Well, yeah, it leads me to the next. In Lavin camps,
Yes.
cutthroat.
Do it with my team every practice.
Yeah, it's one of the best things you could do, I think, for player development and coaching. If you're emphasizing defense and ball pressure, because what's most important? The ball, where you're trying to put it, the basket. So in cutthroat, you got to have ball pressure. You got to protect the basket. And how do we finish our defense? Rebound. So those are the three rules that we put in cutthroat. If you can do that, you can play defense anywhere. But I think that's, if I had one drill other than shooting drills, I'd put in cutthroat, and you can do that defensive or offensive.
Yeah, so coaches out there, cutthroat, I do it with my teams. And by the way, at Stanford, Tara, we played cutthroat all the time. Jonas Honick, my high school coach, we played cutthroat every practice. Yeah. Cutthroat's a fancy way to just say 3-on-3 or 4-on-4 with rules, right? And so like for my team, if we're playing offensive cutthroat, you catch the ball, you have to square up to the basket in triple threat. You pass the ball, you have to cut to the basket or screen away. And we either limit the dribbles or have a really short shot clock, some kind of urgency to make a quick decision. Yeah. And it's just a great teaching tool.
Yeah, and if your team's got a particular area they need to focus on, maybe scouting report,
right,
you can just put that in the cutthroat format and drill it
exactly.
until you got it right. Yeah,
exactly. Duffy, I apologize. It's a glossary heavy interview here.
I have one more question on the on evaluating film. How much are you, when you're looking at someone, how much are you looking at their potential? So you're looking at their athleticism, they're looking at how they cover space and whatever it might be, as opposed to the skill you see. What's the balance of those two things? Or do you not, or is it just more of a cumulative sort of feel of the player?
Both. I think the cumulative feel for the player, and then specific to our needs. Right. If we need a shooter or a rebounder, we have a 6'4" player from Utah that we watched film and said, "Ooh, she could be really good." And then last year was a typical freshman, a lot of learning, and this year she's really, and she worked hard over the summer, and you can tell she's going to be an impact player for us.
That's great. So, advice on how to be seen by coaches. So we talked about, it's nice to have a high school coach who has connections, right? Mm-hmm. That's one good thing. But let's say there's a kid listening to this in the middle of nowhere, and they have a new high school coach, and their coach isn't connected. Mm-hmm. How do you recommend? So there's the AAU circuit.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
Is that the best way you think for kids to get seen?
Well, that's where a lot of the college coaches are, right? Because we want to see the best. So you're going to go wherever the best teams are, the best tournaments. And that's obvious choice. However, that might not be the best. You know, there's some excellent coaches. You know, in this area we have the Cal Stars, Bay City, and a lot of our players play from them. That's where we saw them.
Sure. And
that's where the coaches recommended Dominican would be a great fit. But like Zach in MBBA, excellent coach.
Zach Borello,
yes.
Great coach, great guy.
And then MBBA is really working hard to develop the women's program, KK.
Yep.
You know, so you got to kind of weigh it. Is it worth traveling and paying maybe a lot of money to be seen and get limited playing time? Or is it more beneficial to really work on your development? You know, go to some tournaments, be seen, but really improve as a player so your value goes up.
Right.
And then, you know, that if you can play, we'll find you.
Sure.
And so I think it's important to weigh that. It's not always, you know, the top club program per se. You may or may not play a lot. And is that what's best for you in your game? Maybe not.
Right.
So, you know, of course, you know, I'm on the sideline next to Tara and looking at the top club teams. Well, we're probably not going to get that kid. So I'm over on court 4 or 5 also looking at, you know, and then you see a kid dive, loose balls, you know, hitting shot after shot, making great passes, just playing great basketball. Wow. You know, that's a kid I want to have visit here.
Yeah. Yeah, that's great. Awesome. Talk about a typical campus visit. So I'm a stud high school senior. I want to play for Coach Lakose at Dominican. I come to visit campus. Walk us through a typical campus visit.
Yeah, we're going to try to get to know you and customize it towards, make sure we get all your questions answered. That's the main thing. And you get a good feel for us. So I think the best way to do that is we invite them typical day. Like say you came visit us today. We practice in the morning. So watch a practice.
Yeah.
And then we try to turn you over to our players as quickly as we can. And they love showing you around the campus and answering any questions that you have. If mom or dad come, or their coach, you know, usually I'm intentionally lagging behind the team to give them space and answer any questions mom or dad or coach may have. And then we'll sit right here in the office and say, hey, you know, let's check the boxes. Academically, is this a great fit? You know, what's your major? What do you want to do? Basketball-wise, can you see yourself out there playing with us? You know, how do you feel with the team? So our visits are typically short and sweet. Some are overnight. Those are officials. The difference between an official and an unofficial visit. Official visit, the school pays for, so they pay for your travel, lodging, and so forth. And there's only a certain number of those, and some schools have more budget to do that than others. An unofficial, you pay for. The school does not pay for that. And you can do as many unofficials as you want.
Oh, okay.
So we especially if you're in the area, you know, come over, watch a practice, you know, spend time with our players and see, you know, whether you come here or not, that could be beneficial.
Yeah.
And I'm at that point too, that if this is a great fit for you, great. If not, I'll try to help you find whatever that place may be. So that's a typical visit for us.
That's great.
Yeah.
That's great. All right, sign me up. That sounds good to me. Okay, let's. We want to talk about. So we mentioned you're a big guy. You played post. How do you feel about post play today?
Yeah.
How's the quality of post play?
Yeah, there's not a lot of it. And when I played, I wasn't as big as I am now because I played a lot more.
Have you turned into a perimeter player over the years?
No, I was more of a perimeter player when I was growing up because the Lakose side of the family was from Iowa. And my cousin, she played college basketball for Coach Bueller that's at the University of Iowa.
Yeah.
She played at St. Ambrose at that time. And she taught me how to shoot. I mean, she's 7 years older than I am. And so I looked up to her, and I was just like, man, this is fun. Boom, boom, boom. And then our family moved to Southern California, and that's when I saw, you know, Magic and Worthy and Kareem. I was like, ooh, it's more than just shooting. You got to be able to pass the ball. You got to be able to make some post moves. The hook shot, you know, those things that however you can put the ball in the basket. So I studied the greats and then spent hours in the driveway trying to replicate that. And then as I grew and got bigger, I learned that, man, I can get close to the basket and use my body. And I developed, you know, a go-to move, a counter, And that's really all you need.
How tall are you, Tim?
6'4".
Okay.
6'5" on a good day.
Yeah.
So at high school, I was able to play inside out. I knew if I had a bigger person guard me, which was not as common, I could probably
Take him outside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. And if they didn't guard me, I can go get by them.
Right.
If they're a smaller player, I can
Post him up.
post them up. And so I understand the inside, outside, and then how to create those mismatches using the screening game. And that's, Lakers were one of the best at that. And then, then when I got to coaching, it was more guard oriented, and the 3-point line came in. And then when I was at Bakersfield, we didn't have the size. When I got there, we had one player, Heather Gray, who could run forever and ever, and she had great hands, and she finished around the post. And we put some shooters around her.
Yeah.
She led the country in scoring. And her teammate, Diana Dipburner, who's now coaching at Colorado Christian, was the number 3 scorer in the country because she could shoot the ball. And man, we went to the Elite 8. They were such a great group.
Wow.
But it was a combination inside and out. And it's tough if you're a post player and you don't have perimeter shooters. It's tough because they're just going to bury you.
They're just going to collapse.
They're just going to send more defenders to you, and it's going to be really, really rough. And just the opposite. If you're a perimeter player that don't have no inside game, they could just lock you up. So again, going back, the aces. You watch Asia in the post.
Asia Wilson.
Wow. And then you got Gray, Plum, Young on the perimeter. You got 4 all-stars, and they're playing inside and out. And it's like, if I were a musician, it's beautiful music, and
Becky,
poetry.
Becky can coach.
What a coach! She puts
Becky
them in all
Hammond's incredible.
Yeah, she puts them in all the right spots to be successful. And so they know how to get the ball to Asia. And Asia knows that she's double. She knows to look low, look opposite, because that's probably where the open player is going to be. And they know how to work together off screens and cuts. And, same thing with, you look at all levels, you got to have inside and out.
Right.
So, you might be able to beat a team here and there with a 3-point shot. But if you can't guard the rim and you can't get inside consistently, you're not going to win consistently.
Well, having post players who see the court, pass the ball, are willing to pass the ball, and understand the team concept is so valuable, right?
Well, in our level, like Heather Gray at Big, she's 6 foot tall, led the country in scoring because she knew how to play inside out. Everywhere I've been, we've had bigs, but they've been mobile. And it's like, so here, Natalie Diaz led 6 foot,
great
play inside out, and just a coach's dream.
Yeah.
Great. She's, I think, here today on campus as an alumni business conference. So hopefully see her later tonight, but just a great person. Then we had Jerusha Payne, who transferred in, led the country in scoring. And then there's a kid that's just workhorse, just worked until her body gave out, which was thankfully for us at the end of the season. And then we had Riley Freehoff transferred in. Again, because success breeds success. She's like, wow, your post players really do well.
Yeah.
And she, we played her 40 minutes because she got up and she worked really, really hard. And it was funny because here's another thing I think is really important. So she came here on a visit, and we saw the potential that we were talking about, right? She's a quiet warrior. And she averaged maybe 8-9 points a game, but we saw something special in her. She had a feel for the game. And I told her, I said, hey, you come here, I think you could be an All-American. And I remember she came with her mom or sisters, and they kind of looked like, what is he talking about?
Is he crazy?
Kind of crazy. But sure enough, I said, you got to have to work for it.
Yeah.
And she did. And she became an All-American.
Oh, that's great.
It is a great story. And she's had some pro offers too, and she's doing well in the business world. And, it's just what you want to see your players be successful on the court and beyond.
Yeah.
And I think, especially here at Dominican, everywhere I've been, but the last 10 years, we've not only been able to recruit and develop great kids, but they've gone on to have very, very successful lives, and we're very proud of that.
That's so rewarding. Awesome. All right, got a few more questions for you, Coach. So, you mentioned cutthroat as a favorite drill. Can you give me, for the nerdy coaches out there, the people like Duff and I who just love this stuff, give us another drill that you like to run in practice, whether it's a shooting drill or whatever.
I think any drill you put time and score on, going back to competitive, is a great drill. Yeah, because kids love to compete. And then, you want to get personal records, PRs, right? We're trying to set PRs individually as a team every day. So you can put any kind of shooting drill out there and set the clock, go. And the team shooting 5-ball, right? You're going full court, you're shooting threes, layups, and you got 3 minutes on the clock. And I think Stanford, when we went and watched, I got this from
Tara. Yeah.
I think they scored 69, and I think our best is 65. But that just gives you something to shoot for, right? Hey, beat Stanford today.
Right.
Go.
So is that where you have like maybe it's a weave in the middle, and then you have players in the corners passing out to the wings?
That's exactly it.
Okay.
And then they pass it out. They can shoot a 3 or a 2, but of course they want to shoot the 3. Yeah. And it has carry over to the game, right? Because when you play the game, there's time, there's a score, and you got to put the ball in the basket. And the team that does that the most usually wins. So those are, and again, I try to keep it simple. What's most important?
Right.
The ball. Where we're trying to put it? The basket. So every drill that we do, and whenever they ask questions, because we're earlier in the season right now.
Sure.
Yeah, I kind of turn it back on. Okay.
What do you think?
Right.
Right.
And then they're like, and most of the time they have the answer.
Yeah.
But I appreciate the asking.
Yeah.
But yeah, we're not trying to, it's not calculus.
Right.
We're trying to keep it simple.
Yeah. All right. Can you, Duff? I'm not forgetting our whiteboard moment. I often do.
Congratulations.
Thank you so much. Can you walk us through a moment where Coach Tim, you drew up a play to win it, and it just worked beautifully, or something notable where your coaching chops shone through?
We were, well, yeah. Again, keeping it simple. In a timeout, okay, Fanique, you get the ball. You're going to score, or you're going to get to a teammate to score. I mean, it's that simple. It really is. Find different ways to get your best players the ball in the best position. And they're either going to score, or their teammates are going to get a great shot. And there's 100,000 different ways to do that.
Yeah. That's, you know what? That's very refreshing. Just keep it simple.
Yeah. And then the other team's probably going to try to do the same thing. So, all right, who's their best player?
Yeah.
Where are they going to try to get her the ball? And how are we going to try to stop that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. All right, Coach, we've hit crunch time, the end here, which I often make too long. But so...
Okay. Time for me to interrupt.
Go ahead.
I think we should get at least a brief season preview for the Dominican team. Thank you. Let me plug the Penguins, the mighty Penguins as we call them.
Love it.
We got a great group back. We have 10 returners. Had a great year last year. They're ready to go. And then we brought in 4 freshmen, 3 transfers that are certainly going to help us. We have a preview, our tip-off luncheon auction on October 21st here at Dominican, 10 a.m. to noon, and great barbecue lunch provided by Forest Barbecue.
And this podcast may air after that, but there may be other opportunities. We'll make sure that
we're going to plug
your season schedule up on our website.
Maybe on the Run TMC social media.
We're going to plug it.
Yeah.
We're going to plug it.
Yeah, because Coach DeMarco Chris, who's an alum, providing Warrior tickets for our auction VIP Warrior ticket experience. We'll have a game day experience with tickets down to Stanford, where we open on November 1st.
Love it.
Great opportunity, historic opportunity for our program.
What time do you guys play Stanford on November 1st?
That will be 7 p.m.
All right. If I don't have San Domenico practice, I'm going to go down.
Bring the team. I think Mike said he's going to try to bring the team down.
Yeah, that'll be fun. Keep going on the preview.
Our home games are on our website, DominicanAthletics.com. For more information, you can go to timlakose.com about our coaching philosophy and kind of keys to success. But we're super excited about our group. It's a special time here at Dominican, a lot of positive things happening, and coming off a great year, we want to compete for a championship and play in the NCAA tournament.
Love it. Awesome. Well, good luck, Coach.
Thank you.
All right, now crunch time, Duff.
Now crunch time.
Thank you so much. Okay, Tim, favorite coaches and teams to watch?
Well, Coach Dunlap was one of my favorite. My high school coach, Ron Rice, was one of my favorite. Coach Vanderveer is one of my favorite.
Yeah.
Steve Kerr, Becky Hammond.
Yeah.
There's a reason why they've been so successful. So you try to learn, take what you can, and make it your own. I made the mistake of trying to be somebody else. That didn't work. I wouldn't do that. But those have been some of the great coaches.
Great answer. And Becky Hammond, we mentioned she's the coach of the Aces. So she was actually, it's funny, you'll like this, Coach. I first saw Becky Hammond when Stanford played Colorado State in the NCAA tournament in 1997.
Yeah.
And she was a stud guard for Colorado State. She was 25 points a game. Yeah. So in the practice leading up to that, there was the regional. I was Becky Hammond in practice because I was a practice player. So it's like, man, this is fun. I get to shoot the ball every time I touch it. This is great.
Yeah.
But Becky was an incredible player in college, went on to have a great WNBA career, has been an unbelievable coach, and was Greg Popovich's assistant for the San Antonio Spurs.
Right.
And many people thought she could be the first woman. She was the first women's assistant coach in the NBA.
Yeah.
Many people thought she was, and she might eventually be the first women's coach in the NBA. Yeah. But then she took the Aces job, and she's just an incredible coach. So
yeah, you probably saw that when her playing days that she had that ability, and exciting too. The WNBA is coming here to the Bay Area.
Awesome.
Yeah,
such a great development. I love that.
So Dave, crunch time update is that the clock has expired. We did not get a shot off.
Yeah, we need to reevaluate our whole strategy on this crunch time thing. All right, Tim, are you nice to refs? Are you a pain in the butt to refs? What's your referee strategy?
Oh goodness, I've learned over the years to try to be. I definitely was too hot-headed early in my career, and I've learned the hard way, especially being married with kids. They're like, "What are you doing?" And then they're a really important part of the game,
yeah.
And I've learned to better communicate with them, ask questions instead of critique. So I try to get 0 technicals. I probably average 1 every other year.
That's not bad.
Yeah, and I think again, a lot of the officials I've had for years. Some are my former players.
Oh wow, that'd be interesting.
yeah, but they're not. They don't take it easy on me.
Right.
But I think that's certainly helped to have those relationships and understand that they're part of the basketball family. They're an important part, and
sure.
Just like any family, you communicate. We'll have our moments, but I think we come from that place. There's mutual respect.
Yeah. Hey, coaches out there, if you don't like referees, I recommend you referee a game yourself.
That's great advice.
It is not easy.
Great advice.
Okay, your dream team, you and 4 others, you're heading down. It's noon at Dominican here on the Collins Center. You're going to play some pickup. Who's your dream team of 4?
It could be the Marin YMCA.
Yeah.
True.
Could be.
True.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be.
Yeah. Yeah, there's some great games at the
So who are your favorite people to play with?
It's Magic, Bird, Jordan, and Curry.
That's a pretty good team.
Yeah.
What are you playing? Are you posting up?
I'm passing the ball.
Okay. Yeah, we're going 5 out.
Into the corner,
We're going 5 out. Tim, you're setting a lot of screens.
Get out of their way.
Yeah, get out of the way.
Absolutely.
Beautiful.
And then on the women's side too, Lisa Leslie was a great player, and Tarasi. She was the first.
Still playing.
First women's player, and I was a pretty good player back then. I was like, oh man, I wouldn't bet money that she'd beat me 1-on-1.
Yeah,
for sure. Sue Bird,
yeah.
And then you see every one of the aces, and Sabrina. What a great player from the Bay Area.
Ionescu, yep.
Yep.
Played Cal Stars, same thing that KK did. Okay, final one, most important question. Mm-hmm. Favorite Marin restaurant?
Well, I know Hub. Right.
Way to go.
For the burger and Oreo shake. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, after a workout, a good run, great place. Poggio's in Sausalito.
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
That's a great spot right down.
And they're friends of the program too.
Larry Mandel's spot. Mm-hmm. Yep, that's awesome. Duffy, do you have anything else for us?
Thank you so much for your time, Coach. A great interview. I think the insights with regards to recruiting, I think many of our listeners will really appreciate that, and nice nuanced information. And we wish you luck with this season and your program. You've got it all dialed in as far as we can tell.
And hey, we've talked to our players on this podcast about the importance of watching basketball, and that to be a great player, watching basketball helps. Kids in Marin, come down to Dominican and watch Tim's teams play. It's a beautiful facility. They play hard. Tim is a great coach. He's got amazing talent. This is such a fun thing to come to these games. So I highly recommend it. So
every once in a while, there's like a free pizza night too, right?
Oh yeah, we'll have lots of promos, and it's just a good time. We really appreciate what you guys are doing. Marin County basketball is great history. It's great times right now.
Yeah.
You don't have to wear a mask, hopefully.
Yeah, that's right. All right, thanks, Coach.
Thanks,
Really
guys.
appreciate the time.
All right, Dave. That was a good interview. What do you think?
Duff, I thought it was great. I really enjoyed speaking with Tim. Listeners, Duffy, Tim, and I bantered for about 20 minutes before we started recording, and we traded some old stories. Just a great guy, full of passion and energy. Clearly loves the kids he coaches. He loves the game. He loves this community, and that all shines through.
And he talked about having a ball, and there's a purpose to the game with the ball, and just. Dave, did you understand that? It seemed a little complex to me, but there was something about taking the ball and putting it somewhere.
It seemed like the most important thing is the ball, and you want to try and put it in some sort of a basket.
All right.
Right.
So then you have some other team, and they then get the ball, and you're trying to prevent them from putting it in said basket.
So we kid, but it's actually kind of awesome how simple he breaks it down to make the game really simple, and that's pretty refreshing. Duff, why don't you talk about? I loved his whiteboard moment. What did you think about that?
Right. Yeah. That's just very simple. It's kind of like the Michael Jordan approach. You have to score a basket, end of the game. Why don't we just give the ball to Michael Jordan and have him push off and make a shot? Or find Steve Kerr for a shot.
Exactly. So it was great. He said, "Look, give the ball to your best player, and either she or he will score, or they'll create an opportunity for someone else."
Yeah.
And great. It's we overcomplicate things in this world, and particularly in basketball. I thought that was super refreshing.
And on the counter to that is, and this was something that we employed at the very end of our CYO season in the championship game, is if the other team has the ball and it's the end of the game, don't let their best player touch the ball. The simple defensive strategy. Who cares about whether you're going to hedge or 2-3 zone or press or whatever? Just don't let that guy get the ball.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
So, basketball can be a very simple game, and I do think that, I don't know about you, Dave, but over time as a coach, and I'm still very much evolving, but my emphasis on X's and O's and plays has dropped off over time, and it's more about the creating a style of play, creating a mentality of play, and creating the community. And as you talk about, Mike talking about being connected, right? It's creating a connection with your team.
Yeah. So there's an old coaching adage, Duff, that's don't teach them plays, teach them how to play. And I think Tim Lakose is a perfect representation of that. Right. And you watch his teams play. First of all, I mean it. I used to go to his games before I met him. They play up tempo. They've multiple times led the nation in scoring. Very fun team, run and gun, and they play together. And to your point about Fulton's talking about getting connected, at the start of every San Domenico practice, we run a very old school drill called the 3-man weave, 3-player weave. Very simple. It's been used for decades, and it's just a passing drill that involves layups and team working together. But whenever we're struggling with that drill, Fulton will scream, "Get connected!" And he says the same thing in games when we're not playing well together. It's get connected. And he means get connected as a team, be together, be on the same page.
Find the flow, yeah.
Find the flow
of the team, yes.
And Tim is very much a proponent of connectivity on his teams.
Right.
And you can see that.
I also love the advice, and I think this is very true, to coaches to read books about parenting or to read books about teaching.
Yeah.
Because coaching is not just the X's and O's and knowing the positions and the stats. It really is about helping to manage people and find them a way to connect them with their teammates and their coaches.
Absolutely. I like, he brought up Tara Vanderveer's high-low, the 3-out, 2-in offense. It was near and dear to my heart. I ran that a lot when I was a practice player with Tara's teams, and he's used that offense. It's a really good offense, listeners and coaches. If you have multiple good post players who have good footwork, you get the swing from the wing back to the top of the key, and you get that high-low pass. Can be very effective, and so I thought that was cool that he's used that, because I spent a lot of my life in college running that
in a
offense.
5-out world, there still are some holdouts.
Right.
Yes,
that's right. So I thought it was a great interview. Tim is someone you want to root for and support. He does a lot for the community. I will definitely be at as many Dominican games as I can go to this year. So
Yeah, check out the barbecue October 21st, 10 a.m. if you're around. And we will do our sign off and thanks. We're going to save the player control. We do have some items for the player control, but out of the interest of time and our listeners' patience and the accumulating mistakes we've made, we're going to try and really batch it, Dave. We also want to make sure that if you're still listening, that you email us, the runtmcpodcast@gmail.com, or go to the website, the runtmcpodcast.com, if you want to be either on our newsletter, be a guest, or be a correspondent once we reach the season. We also have some merch coming in. More about that on our next episode.
All right. Thank you, Duff.
Thank you. Good stuff, Dave.
Burke's on his feet. He looks up and gives me a grin and says, "Hey dude, you too must be from Marin."